doing your own service, doing any repairs that you're capable of doing, installing your own parts, detailing your bike, planning your own trips, finding interesting points to go visit, connecting with new riders. All these things are things that we do on the regular as motorcyclists. And, well, I've been thinking about it recently, and I'm like, is technology, is it more helpful or is it more damaging in those areas? Let's talk about it. What's up? Jim here. Welcome back to J Street Moto. Welcome to the channel if it's your first time. It's a cold but beautiful day here in the Charlotte metro area. So I thought that I would take the bike out for a ride and record some content for you guys. Hope you appreciate it. I'm going to break it into three sections. First section I'm going to talk about is route planning. Back in the day, if you wanted to take a road trip, you had to break out a paper map. When I plan long distance trips nowadays, David and I and Juan, we still like to get together with the paper maps, the old school maps, and kind of plan it out like that. We still like to do that, and there's some nostalgia to it. I leverage Google Maps quite a bit. I have, and I do use the Harley Davidson Ride Planner. I've used Rever. I've used several of them when I plan my trips for different reasons, and it's convenient. It makes things a lot easier. I gotta admit, when you're on the road, you know, you get up in the morning, you're in an area you're not familiar with, it's like, it's pretty easy just to say, well, where are we going today? We're gonna go there. Do we want to take interstates or we want to avoid them? We want to avoid them. Plug that shit into Google and take off. If you have a point of interest already that you know you want to go see, plug it in as a waypoint. And Google will route you in a way that you can go see that. That's another thing technology really helps with. Finding points of interest along your ride. Now, what do I mean by that? And what do I mean by technology in general? I'm not just talking about GPSs. I'm talking about all your social medias. YouTube, Facebook, the groups on Facebook, any kind of forums that you might be in. All of those things make connections with people that allow you to ask questions that might end up getting you, you know, some good advice. One of my YouTube videos, one of the comments from it was how I found out about the damn Cabot Trail when we went up to Canada. So it's those kinds of things that happen that help you when you're planning your trip. Make sure you don't miss anything big, right? So that's the travel side of things using technology. Let's talk about the community aspect of it. Instagram, Facebook groups, forums, hell, even YouTube. They give you exposure to a wider range of riders than you might meet just by being out riding around in your local area. And that in and of itself makes for new opportunities. Bike nights you wouldn't necessarily have known about, for instance, or little events, charity rides, whatever. You might not know about them. A chance to meet people that you normally maybe wouldn't meet. So I count that as a positive as well. Now let's get to the other side of the spectrum, the other side of the social media piece with the forums. I'm in several. I'm in everything that is specific to this model bike. I'm still a member of the old Road King special forum that I was in, or that group. I'm in a couple of different Road Glide forums, or groups. I shouldn't even call them forums, they're groups. I'm in an M8 group, all of these on Facebook. I watch a lot of YouTube. I'm subscribed to a ton of YouTube channels, and 90% of my subscriptions are for channels that make motorcycle content. I look at that as a mixed bag. Just bear with me. There's several dimensions to what I'm trying to talk about, or what I'm going to talk about. One is, you've got a question. Maybe you're interested in knowing, here, I'll give you a good example. You're interested in knowing you've got a brand new motorcycle. You might have 100 miles on it, probably not even broken in yet. You decide you want to go ahead and do a cam job on it, on an M8 motor that has a total of 100 miles or less on it. You might decide to ask the M8 group, do I need to change the cam bearing? Is it recommended that I do that when I put a new cam in? Especially in the 24s, the cam bearing, from my understanding, I haven't seen it yet, is way better. Do I need to change that bearing while I'm in there changing the cam? And you'll get a lot of different responses. In some of those groups, the members of those groups are actual technicians and mechanics. And what's really funny is when the mechanics disagree with each other. You have somebody say one thing and then another one says, well, no, I wouldn't do that because of this, or this. You know, everybody's got an opinion and they're going to end up arguing there on it. And, you know, keyboard warriors are keyboard warriors. All that does is confuse the guy that asked the damn question. Poor guy that asked the question, it's like, well, which one do I pick? I got 4 guys that are saying no. I got 5 guys that are saying yes. All of them are technicians with Harley. All of them have valid reasons. I'm no better than I was before I asked it. There's one of the problems you have, right? Another problem you have is you got people going on those groups and asking questions that just, to me, and maybe I'm wrong, drop it down in the comments if you disagree with anything that I'm saying here throughout this video. Drop it down in the comments. I want to hear from you. You got, you know, you got people that go through and they ask what I would consider not even a legitimate question. It's like really, you're going to ask that question? I'll give you a couple of the you know, the top 3. I'll call them my top 3, and I'll explain why I don't think they're legitimate questions. I'm not just gonna, you know, say I don't like it, so I don't think they're legitimate questions. I'm gonna tell you why. First one, and it's really common. What's the best cam for me to get in my 2024 Road Glide? Now, on the outset, you might think, well, that sounds like a reasonable question. Here's my thoughts on it. When I buy parts for this motorcycle, I know what my intended use is of the bike. And every part that I buy for it should try to add to or improve that intended use. If my intention with this motorcycle is to trailer it to track days and try to run around like the local racetracks around here when they open them up for us, I'm going to put different parts on my motorcycle than I am if I am the guy that just wants a bike that has a little more pep, a little more torque, but is still extremely reliable because I want to be able to throw my leg over it and go ride 8,000 miles in a couple of weeks and not worry about it. See what I mean? So just me going on that site and saying, oh, hey, what kind of cam should I put in here? I'm going to get answers from both ends of the spectrum. I'm going to get the guys that like just the, you know, want to build race bikes. They're going to tell me, oh, well, you know, you need to do this. All the way to the guys that, you know, think it should stay stock, so they're just looking at, oh, well, you know, you just want a little bit more, then I'd go with this. See what I'm getting at? And all of them are legitimately right. They're absolutely 100% correct. But they don't know what my intended use is, nor do they ask. So I've kind of asked the question wrong. That's on me. I wouldn't ask that question on social media. I wouldn't ask, this is another one I see quite a bit. What oil do you use in your motorcycle? What the hell? Look in your owner's manual. The manufacturer recommends the weight of that oil. And they even, hell, Harley's, I think I'm recalling correctly, gives you a table based on the average ambient temperature that you ride in. It might adjust to that weight for you. Why would I ask people that question? That's one of the dumbest questions on the planet. I think the cam question or questions like that, you know, you can see the same stuff with what's the best seat? What's the best windshield? What's the best? All those things fall into the same cam category, right? Are you going to get on there and ask them, what should I have for dinner tonight? Or should I date the blonde, brunette, the redhead? This stuff's all personal preference. Why the f would you ask a group with 4,000 or 5,000 people in it or more what their opinion is? Form one of your own. Go do the research. Figure it out. I don't get it. Technology just making people lazy? Here's the top, though. The single worst question I've ever seen on any of the groups that I'm in. Now, if you're watching this, chances are you have a bagger. If you have a Harley bagger, you know that the bolts that hold the bags to your bike, once you get them sort of snug, they start to click. Had someone ask a question, what's the recommended number of clicks when you're installing the saddlebag on the bike? Are you kidding me? That's, those kinds of questions are insane in my opinion. And it's those kinds of questions, honestly, that I think contribute to the guys that know what the hell they're talking about either staying quiet and choosing not to answer, or that causes some of the arguments that take place when you got one guy that has a differing opinion from another. In this writer's opinion, I just think people have gotten lazy. I'm currently researching which cam I want to put in old Fia here. Well, I did use technology for that one. Chat GPT. Actually, her two wheels, if you don't follow her, she makes really good content. I highly recommend that you go check her out. This is January 20th. Her two wheels dropped a video last week where she uses, or where she does use, Chat GPT to help her plan her trips. And I'm sitting there going, why have I not thought of that? That's brilliant. And I've tried it a couple times, and it really does good. Y'all should try it. But one thing I used Chat GPT for was, I was like, tell me all of the camshafts that are currently available for the 2024 M8 117 cubic inch motor, manufacturers and camshafts. And it gave me a list. All the manufacturers, all the ones that I knew at least. Think Woods, Andrews, Fueling. Of course, they had Harley on there, Screaming Eagle. They listed a bunch of manufacturers, and they didn't just give one cam from each manufacturer. ChatGPT came back with 3 or 4 cams. In some cases from the manufacturer, sometimes it was just 2. But they listed them, and when they had the cam called out there, they said what that cam is mainly known for. Is it for high performance kind of racing applications, or is it for touring applications, just increased performance on a touring motorcycle? I used that to create a list of manufacturers and specific cams that I wanted to look at, to go to those manufacturers' websites, and all of them have data sheets. They've got white sheets on those cams and how they are expected to perform given the other components they had installed on the motorcycle with that cam. That's all the information you need, I think, in my opinion, to make a decision, to make an informed decision about which one would be the best one for me to have. Now, I do have friends around here that I trust their opinion of. I know them well, and they've had cams put in their motorcycles, and I do talk to them. Hey, which one did you go with, and why? Why'd you go with it? What are you looking to do? Because I want to know what their intention was for putting the part on the bike. Remember, I don't put anything on this motorcycle unless it improves on the intention I have for the bike. So that's how I make decisions. Are people just lazy and they don't want to do that legwork? I don't know. I have no clue. I can draw an assumption. My assumption would be they're just damn lazy and they don't want to do the legwork themselves, or they don't know how to do the legwork themselves, or they haven't, they've never been in a position where they had to do the legwork themselves. They'd rather just, I'm going to go ask these random people that I don't know, and hopefully one of them gives me an answer that I like. Okay, so yeah, I just had that curiosity. I'll give you an extra one. This one's more kind of a pain point for me, I guess. There's nothing in the world that I hate more than false advertisement. I don't like going onto YouTube, seeing a thumbnail that screams, the end of the world, a title that's talking about the end of the world, and then a video that has nothing to do with the title or the thumbnail. Or like it has 0.01% to do with the title. Just enough so that they can say, well, I didn't outright lie to you. I feel like I'm watching a politician when that shit happens. And I tell you, I only give content creators about 2 strikes on that one. If you've created content twice in a row that does that kind of crap, I unsubscribe from you. It makes me that angry. I don't like it. I hate it. Now, I do find YouTube very valuable when it comes to, like I said earlier, I am not a mechanic. I'm not. The only thing I know how to do on this bike is because someone else has taught me, or because I figured it out on my own. I'm not a mechanic. I'm fortunate enough to have friends that are, so I can run things by them and they can tell me if I'm a dumbass or not. With that said, I rely on YouTube. If I've got a part that I want to install, or if I have a problem I'm trying to diagnose, I'm going to go search YouTube first and see if I can find videos from people that I trust, from people that I think know what they're talking about, to watch their stuff. If I'm installing a part, I'm usually going to the manufacturer's YouTube channel, because most of them have them, and watching their installation video. because that's going to give me the best information, period, bar none. It's going to give me the best information of how to put their part on my bike. I rely on YouTube for it. I think overall it's been a positive influence on the community. I'd like to know what you guys think. So, you know, drop me a comment. Tell me the stupidest question. If you're in some of these forums and groups, tell me the stupidest question you've seen. I'm really interested in that. I honestly am. I see a lot of questions in those groups, quite honestly, guys. If you're watching this and you're one of those people that would ask that question or ask a type of question like I'm getting ready to ask, don't shoot the messenger, just hear me out. I see a lot of questions on those groups that honestly can be answered if you just opened the owner's manual and actually read it. I'm not saying you got to read the damn thing cover to cover. What I am saying is it has an appendix. If you're curious about, well, why isn't sound coming out of my speakers, or why isn't sound going to my headset? Go look that shit up in the owner's manual. Why isn't my helmet connecting to the bike? Go look it up in the owner's manual. Go look it up there. Chances are you're going to find what you're doing wrong. You don't need to go on a group with 5,000 people and ask that question, unless you just want folks to talk to. Maybe that's the reason people do it. On that note, I will throw myself under the bus, because like I said, I have not read the manual cover to cover. I've read it. I've read the sections that I thought I needed to read, and I can't believe I found something out just recently, like within the past 2 weeks. I found something out by watching a YouTube video of a buddy of mine. I can't believe I never knew it, because it was this way on my Iron 883, it was this way on my Road King, and it's this way on the Road Glide. I was watching a V-Twin Revolution video. The guy that runs that channel, he works at a local dealership, and we've met and know each other. He was going over the inspection that they do on bikes that have been traded in before they put them out on the floor for sale. And one of the things he checked was belt tension. I did not know. I can't believe I didn't know this, and if I read the manual cover to cover, I would have seen it, because sure shit's in the manual. Those little plastic covers that we have on the bottom side of our belts that are just, you know, there to protect them, there's a notch cut into it vertically with little lines. Those lines are 1/16 of an inch apart. You look through that little notch, it's a window. You push up underneath it, and wherever the bottom of the belt stops, that's how many 1/16 of an inch your tension is. And the recommended tension on these motorcycles is about 3/16. So you push it up, and if it's at, you know, if it's at the third line, you're good. You're not loose and you're not too tight. I had no fucking clue. I never knew that. I couldn't believe I never knew that. I actually went to the dealer to pick something up. Sean happened to be hanging out with Al at the countertop at Speedway Harley Davidson, and we're talking, and I told him, I'm like, dude, I had no clue. You know, this is my third Harley. I had no clue that I could test my own. I've got a belt tension tool, for crying out loud, because I had no clue that that's how you would do it. I couldn't believe it. He's just laughing. He's like, it's in the owner's manual. And I'm just like, oh, that's the kind of shit I say on here all the time. It's probably in your owner's manual. I just never... So there, see, I do it too, guys. That's what I wanted to blab on about today. Hopefully this video made sense. Thank you for sticking around so long and watching it. I really appreciate all the support. I do. Do me a favor, like, subscribe, click the notification bell, share it with your friends. All of that's free to you, and it does help the channel. Always ride safe.
Yeah, ready? 1, 2, 3, shoot. Ah. Asshole.
Really? Peace out, bitches!